Okay, welcome to another episode of HR Nightmares, which is sponsored by Leath HR Group. I'm Lisa Leath. I'm a Chief People Officer for Vantaca. And you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Gabbi Plumez. I am a people and culture consultant with Leath HR Group, and I also do marketing for WorkTok.
We are super excited to have an expert in computers, but also cybersecurity here with us, Robbie Garner. And thank you for accepting our invitation to be on HR Nightmares. Most people get scared.
I think it's great. I mean, I've been hyped up today trying to think of some good stories to tell you guys, and just the conversation of HR and cybersecurity is nobody talks about those together. So hats off to you guys for putting that together. That's awesome.
Cool. Well, HR Nightmares, we started this because most HR people say they're going to write this salacious book with all these amazing stories from their years in the business, but nobody ever writes the book. So what we decided to do was kind of take all of our experiences. We got a couple of other ladies that participate in the podcast with us most of the time, but today you've got Gabbi and I. But we like to just kind of share our own perspective on things we've dealt with so that people don't experience HR nightmares and they can avoid HR nightmares. So that's kind of the goal of the podcast and having guests and experts like you on. So tell us about your business, what you guys do, what are your offerings, small, mid-sized, large businesses, and how you play in cybersecurity and why you're passionate about it.
Sure. So Atlantic Computer Services, we're an IT provider in Wilmington. So a pretty good range of companies. Most companies, 50 or 75 users or less, don't have an in-house IT person. So we're able to come in and basically be their IT department from, pretty much all aspects of that. And then for larger organizations, we are more or less a project company. We'll come in and do something specific. And then we also do what we call co-managed IT. So we work with their in-house IT people to supplement and to be a resource for them. So we can manage the back end and they take care of end user support, or we could help them with security. We enhance the local IT for those types of companies, and that's a big
Sound
part.
Familiar?
Of
Yes.
Literally the exact thing that Leath HR Group does for clients. So working with and being the HR leader in a company that doesn't have them because they're too small, it doesn't make financial sense to go hire somebody, to supporting on projects and for larger companies. So cool.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. So IT, my biggest piece of advice for employees is always like, okay, if I'm giving you a computer or I'm giving you a phone or you're on my Office 365 account, guess what? Everything's recoverable and discoverable. So let's talk about recoverable and discoverable and how you help businesses. Like usually the only time you're digging up emails and crazy text messages is when things go very badly. So talk to me about when you get involved there.
Well, so if we are involved in a network, there's a lot of logging. There's many different ways that we can gain visibility into user activity. And we don't typically do that on a day-to-day basis. Your IT folks, whether you're working with an outside company or your internal people, day-to-day, they don't care what you do, but they have the ability to go get information and kind of put together that trail that you're talking about. And we have absolutely had an instance where the local IT person was reading everybody's email.
Yeah.
And we were able to.
That is HR nightmare, actually.
Yeah, we were able to go in there and tell them on what day, from which computer, and so you got to be careful.
Mm-hmm. You're probably too young in your career to be dealing with a bunch of these IT HR nightmares, but I'm just going back 15 years to when we'd speculate that somebody wasn't doing work and they were just on the night shift, on the computer the whole time. And sure enough, you pull the records and it's they're on Walmart.com for 4 hours and then they're on Target.com for an hour. And then they take a break and go to the smoke shack. Then they come back and then they're but you can see everybody's web logs. That's super easy.
Sure.
What's always blown my mind, and I guess this is being a trustworthy HR person, but when people just drop and run, like printouts of someone's email or IMs, like their Slacks or their team messages or their whatever. But I've had really interesting IMs between two married individuals, like that were having an affair, and then they left it up on their computer for everyone around them to see it. And then somebody went and was like, I'm done with this. I'm printing it out, I'm sending it to HR. And I had to go figure out like what the heck was going on. I can't be upset they're having an affair, but I can be upset that they're like talking about going to Myrtle Beach together for like hours and hours and what they're going to do with one another on my assets when they're supposed to be working.
Right.
So that's an issue for me. So like, how have you seen just access to all different kinds of technologies get people in trouble?
Yeah. So what we see a lot of and conflicts, right? So conflicts between coworkers. So you mentioned that you've had, I guess, an employee send you some information that's screenshot of, part of a conversation that was questionable. Well, maybe there's a whole other part of the conversation that they're not telling you about. So being able to go back and access that stuff is really important for HR, for any business owner. And, backups. A lot of times when a disgruntled employee leaves, the first thing they do is delete all their email. Well, if you've got the tools in place, it's not a big deal. You just recover it. So, people try to cover their tracks and, we don't like getting in the middle of that, but honestly, sometimes that's what we're hired to do. So,
yeah. A lot of times when people leave under bad circumstances is when you end up having to go and like pull all these logs and emails and texts and IMs because you've been subpoenaed by their attorney or they filed a complaint with like a government agency. And so, yeah, having those tools in place, especially where you've got a lot of employees, because the more humans that you put into a place, the more problems that you're going to have. So just like from a proactive standpoint, if I'm a business that's like teetering on the edge of like, should I get some help? Like, or should I have somebody kind of overseeing my IT? Like what would you say is a good couple of questions to ask yourself?
Yeah. So, I mean, what we see, I guess what we see with a lot of clients is somebody in the organization is having the burden of taking care of IT. And it's typically a finance person, an accounting person that's having to do this too. So they're struggling on the IT front. They're not IT experts. So, it's when they contract with a company like ACS, I mean, it's a load off their plate because they're not technology experts. A lot of times they don't want to do it. They contract with us. We come in, we have the tools already. We, in short order can set up a pretty effective IT department. So that's a really strong, that's a really strong tool that we bring to small companies, and then to larger companies that may have internal IT. Typically, they're maybe not as experienced as the company needs. If it's a bigger company, they have more sophisticated servers and more sophisticated networks. They need somebody with experience, and those people are expensive. So contracting with a company like ACS is we can supplement, your lower experienced person with, 9-10 people that have years of experience.
Yeah.
So that's another powerful tool I think we could bring to the table.
Wow. Yeah, I'm so excited to have you because I think that education of the IT and cybersecurity, I think that's really important for employees and, business owners to educate their people. A quick little HR, not really nightmare because I avoided it, but a personal story that happened to me when I first came on board with you guys full time about a year ago.
Okay, I forgot about that.
And somehow the robots know it. FBI knows everything, and so it's so interesting how these hackers, these evil people, right? They know the timing is spot on. So it was my first week into my full-time role with Wayne Hippo and Lisa, and I was getting ready to go on a trip to Napa Valley. I'm like, my bags are packed. I took a half day, and I got an email right before I was leaving for the airport from Wayne. The email was Wayne Hippo at PS Solutions, and it was like, hey Gabby, it might even said like, before you leave or something like that. Like, before you leave, could you run to Walmart and pick up 50 $1,000 gift cards? And my mouth dropped. I was like, I don't know if I have that money in my account. Like, I just graduated college. Like, I have so many things. And I'm like, Wayne, like in my head, I'm like,
he knows I'm going
to Napa. Come on. Yeah. And so I thought about it and I was like, okay, I could run real quick before it's like on the way to the airport. And then I just sat and I said, you know what? Something about this doesn't seem right, because I don't think that I know Wayne, and I don't know if he would ask me to do that, knowing that I'm a recent grad. So I texted him and I was like, hey, like, I got your email. Just wanted to make sure, like, is this an emergency? Do you need these now? And like, do you have the funds to give me to go get $1,000 gift cards? And he was like, no, that's not me. Don't delete that and go on your trip. So I think as an employee, I'm sure this happens all the time, and you're dealing with all kinds of things, links and everything. So I'm interested to see, like, how do you guys help business owners educate their employees, or just educate in general about the cyber world?
That's a good one too.
Yeah, so that's a great example. That happens all the time. I mean, that's a very common thing that happens, and the reason that it's effective is because of the psychology of it, right? You're a new employee, you're coming into an organization, you're I don't want to say scared, but you don't want to make waves, right? So if somebody asks you to do something, especially your boss, you're going to do it. And that is so effective. And when you talk about cyber crime, I'm way oversimplifying it, but there's the technical aspect, right? So these people know what to do. They know the software to use. They know how technically to get into your network.
Yeah.
But then there's a whole other side of this. It's all psychology. It's called social engineering. And they know the buttons to push on people to get them to do what they want them to do. As technology develops and in security is pushed down to smaller companies that can now afford it, it's not quite as easy to just jump on a network like it used to be. Still can be done. I'm not saying it can't, but it's much easier for these people to, send out 10,000 emails and hope somebody clicks on one link.
I'm just so curious, like, where are these people coming from? Is it like a 17-year-old in Russia? Is it somebody like in Wilmington? Like, is it somebody in China? Like, where are most of the hackers?
So that's a great question. And I've got some slides here from a presentation I did. And like, these are all things that's on this slide. So thanks for asking all these questions.
Softball.
Exactly. So cyber crime is a business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. It's not some kid sitting in their parents' basement going after you. They don't care about you. It's a country. It's an office building in a country. It's a floor of cubicles. That's the hackers these days.
Wow.
And I had read something recently, and I may not have my numbers just right, but North Korea, it said that, or what I read was, a large portion of their nuclear program is financed through cybercrime.
Wow. So
here we are in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we're fighting the Koreans, or North Koreans. You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of your perspective. You're not dealing with some kid, some inexperienced person. These things are sophisticated.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, that makes me feel better.
All it takes is one, really, and they're making money. I mean, that is a lot of money. Just doing the math in my head, I mean, it just takes one employee to click that or to go swipe their card, and they're
I had somebody at a client when I was with Leath HR Group. I had a new employee go and actually buy the gift cards and then call the CEO and say, I got your gift cards. And he was like, excuse me?
Right.
And they always look like it's coming from someone important that this person wants to impress and make proud. And sure enough, like, she spent her own money on it, and now the company reimbursed her. I don't know if I agree with that totally. But you did the right thing. Hey, can I verify? Is this what you need? But that's part of the education piece,
Sure.
right?
So as you from the education perspective, you get in front of your end users and you talk to them about what are key elements of a phishing email. There's always a sense of urgency. You do this right now. I'm in a meeting. Don't call me. Mm-hmm. There's a sense of urgency. There could be improper grammar or, language issues that you can recognize. And then there are also things you can do, like looking at the email address closely. there could be an extra letter in an email address or something that you wouldn't notice quickly. There are other things, but there are ways that people can be aware of a potential problem. Any email I get where somebody's asking me to do something like right now, I'm immediately suspicious.
Are you double clicking on their email to look at the actual email and scrutinize it, or what should we do?
Yeah, most of the time you're probably okay looking at the email, or if you're really nervous about it, maybe just look at it on your phone or something. But don't click any link. I do this in my everyday life. If I get a text notice about an account or something, I never click the link. Mm-hmm. I'll go log into the portal.
Amazon needs a new password.
That's right.
I've been getting a lot from PlayStation. I'm like, I haven't been in my PlayStation account in 10 years. So so is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I would probably say most of them are totally legitimate. You could click on them and you'll probably be okay. But, I just don't click links. Mm-hmm. If it's a link, they're taking you to some account somewhere. And why not just jump on, on the internet and go to your account yourself? That's a much safer way of doing it.
Right.
For sure. And this morning, as a matter of fact, I think there was a news story about robo-text calls. Oh, did you guys see that by chance?
Mm-mm.
So
robo-text calls.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
So typically if, people get texts, they feel like that's safer than an email.
Yeah.
Right. Well, not anymore. People get phishing attempts through text now, just like email. So you really have to be careful no matter whether you're at home or at work. You really have to pay attention to what you're doing, I guess.
Well, and also too, I know I like to get that extra coupon online. J. Crew, I'm like, okay, I'll give you my email address and start an account. And then you sign up and then all of a sudden you get text messages left and right. So you get, I've got a 5 and a 7-year-old. I get Claire's Boutique text messages and J. Crew text messages. And then I'm sure they sell that data, right? Because selling data there's a lot of money in that too,
sure.
Right? And knowing what my demographics are and what I'm buying. And so then I start getting random text messages from other people that want my money. Mm-hmm. But
and then a Facebook advertisement shows a J. Crew Facebook advertisement shows up. Wow, that's weird.
Lady Boxer.
That part of technology really is kind of scary, honestly.
Talk to us about that. What do we need to know?
I don't know. What do you do with that information? It's what these companies are selling. Facebook. I'm not saying bad or good, but these people sell information, and if you're a company that is selling a product, to getting information about what your buyers are wanting and looking for, how valuable is that? Mm-hmm. And that's driving what these companies are doing. So, ethically, I guess you'll have to make your own decision about is it ethical, but it's business, and all of this boils down to business.
Is there a way to predict where this will go? I'm just curious. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but is there a way to predict? Obviously, there's so many advancements every day with technology and with the cloud and with all these. I'm still learning technology. It's really blown my mind stepping into the industry and all these different categories and everything. It just blows my mind how deep and complex it is. But is there a way to kind of predict of, where technology will go next, or just to kind of get one foot in front of this cybersecurity, hey, just be on the lookout? Yeah,
that's a great question. We don't know what we don't know at this point. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where this technology is going. There a couple of years from now, there's going to be things that can be done that we had no idea could be done today. And it's I think a lot of the drive is kind of focusing in on behavior. There's a lot that people can predict by the things you do, good, bad, whatever. And I'm sure we'll see more of that. I'm sure we'll see more advertisements focused on you as a person. If I go to these stores or, I stop to Starbucks 3 times a week, these companies know that.
They know everything.
Yeah, that's right.
You're looking into my soul. What did you look at my calendar or something? Okay.
That's right. So, that's from an employee's perspective, kind of getting back to the HR thing, your users, your employees have to understand that what they do on a daily basis matters. And The company can spend thousands of dollars on security, and one careless user can bypass all of it.
Right.
So, geez, the only way to fill that gap there is with training.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what would be your recommendation on these trainings? Should business owners, managers, should they roll out on the onboarding process? Is there some like regularity to it? What's your recommendation there?
Well, I think that there's certainly some key elements of that you probably do want to have during an onboarding process. Phishing email identifications. If you're a company that deals with wire transfers a lot, you probably should have some type of a manual. We go to automation and technology, and now we almost need something that's manual again, as a checkoff. But I think those are the things that a company should think about. Where is my exposure here, and from that, I think you can come up with a couple of the top things you should train on, and then go home and work. Do they have is their network open? Do they have passwords on their Wi-Fi? I mean, all these things come into play at that point. So whatever you can provide to your employees to let them know why that might be a problem is good for you in the long run.
Mm-hmm. I have to know, are you a Microsoft laptop user or a Mac guy?
Well, I've got to admit, I'm a Microsoft guy. Although I do really like the iPhone. I'm not a Google phone person, but, before, well, I guess let me take a step back. From a business consultant perspective, you see Macs in the business world related to production, right? So printing, video production, photography, things like that. Outside of that realm, it's rare. You may roll into a doctor's office that they've got Macs. Well, that's
like iPads or something.
Yeah. But most businesses just aren't there yet. And, a few years ago, Macs were really not prone to get viruses.
Right.
That's changing. Macs are prone to get viruses. So,
okay.
Maybe not quite as bad as Microsoft, but, but personally, I guess I'm kind of a Microsoft guy.
Yeah, that was always like the word was that Macs can't get viruses, but the others can.
Yeah, I mean,
not true.
These days,
Mythbusters over here. That's
right. And remember, so kind of going back to the cyber crime, email is email. Whether you're on a Mac or you're on a PC, if you click a link and something pops up and you're entering your password information, doesn't really matter if you're on a Mac or a PC. So the email element and the people element of technology, it doesn't matter.
So question for you. So I am an employee. I didn't listen. I didn't attend the training or listen to the education from my manager, and I accidentally clicked the link. I now have a virus on my computer. What's step one as a employee in that moment? Obviously tell your manager, but is it like shut the computer, turn it off? Like what's step one?
So if you think that you've clicked on something and there's something that could be visual on the screen that you think that's really bad, absolutely turn it off. And you maybe even unplug it from the network at that point, and then let somebody know. Again, I think you would be surprised about how many times people wouldn't let their IT know or their boss know. So it's important to let them know because they can stop it. Most of the time, they can stop it. And then from the IT person's perspective, the department or whatever, they're gonna want to know why that email was delivered in the first place, right? So why was there a spam filter that could have caught it, or there are other scanning tools that could catch some of that stuff? So it's important to know when attacks happen on a network. Pretty much the IT folks are looking to stop the encryption, right? They're looking to stop the ransomware. It takes some effort to figure out where it came from, exactly which computer started this thing. Now with forensic technology companies, they can trace it down. So from a small business perspective, your IT person knowing that fast is important.
What fires you up about cybersecurity?
Yeah. So, it's the ultimate cat and mouse game, right? I mean, we are protecting companies. I mean, I I love serving my clients. Yeah, we fix computers, and we unfortunately have to work with printers. But what we love is trying to keep our clients safe. I mean, that's what it's about. It's what new technology is being developed, and it's happening all the time. That's well, maybe not necessarily low cost, but that's it makes sense to spend this money to get this protection. So those are the things we enjoy. Security is you look at layers of security. There's not one silver bullet. So if you can protect a network with many layers of security, can't say that you're never going to get hacked, but you got a better chance than somebody that maybe just has an antivirus installed.
Right.
If we've got people out there that are burdened with having IT under their purview, or other IT people listening, like, what are some of your favorite ways to stay on trend? Like, do you have podcasts that you listen to, or LinkedIn authors that you follow? Like, what do you like?
Yeah, so there's tons of podcasts related to cybersecurity. A lot of them get pretty deep. And quite honestly, I kind of get bored with them too. I enjoy reading and studying what's happening in our channel. So I mentioned a couple of minutes ago that there's all these layers of security. Well, there's all kind of companies that are developing security products. I would love to have the time to be able to research them so I could know what I should bring to my clients and what I shouldn't bring. We're considered a managed services provider. So we bring 8, 9, 10 different pieces of software and applications to a client when we come on board. So, we spent our COVID time researching software, and we built out a security stack that we feel good about. That's going to be great for a couple of years. And then there's going to be something that comes along that's better. And I owe it to my clients to know what that is. So I try to keep up to date on the newer products that are coming down the pipe.
Wow. That's awesome. Do you have any stories? What's like the craziest thing that you had to either like revive a computer? Like, what's the craziest story in how it relates to like cybersecurity?
Okay, well, I got a few.
Good, let's hear them all.
So you mentioned the new employee thing. We had a company that we worked with for a while. They were a very stable company, decent sized company. They hire a new employee. She goes to some website, and window pops up and it says, "Hey, this is your IT folks. Call this number." Well, she calls the number and basically lets them right into her computer. Everybody knows if you're a remote worker, especially, your IT folks can remote into you. So she gave them the information. They jumped on her computer and nosed around for a while until she got nervous and shut it down. But she was a new employee and was cautious or nervous about telling her boss. So that's one that sticks in my mind, actually.
So if you're an employee out there listening to this podcast, just talk to your boss. We're big on talking to your managers, having that relationship, having that trust. You should just, if something looks iffy, and just double check. It doesn't hurt, and I think your boss will be much happier in the long run that you didn't click a link or buy the gift cards.
Right. Yeah, don't buy the gift card.
Some of the WorkTok stuff we were working on, I think one of the questions that I posed was, do you feel comfortable talking to your boss about a cyber incident? And I would be interested to see.
That would be really good data.
Yeah, you need to know.
We can't wait to roll that out.
Yep.
So those that are in the legal and real estate world know that that's like really a hot item right now. Wire transfers is where it's at in the cybersecurity world. We had an attorney in town that we had our tool stack installed on. The employee received an email. She got our notices that this could be a problem. She called our help desk, and sure enough, we verified that this was not a good email. She talked to her coworkers, and her coworkers also said, "Yeah, this is not a good email." She does the wire transfer anyway.
What?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's not reimbursable.
So,
How much was it?
It was a lot.
Oh,
it was like
no.
somebody was buying a house, kind of.
Oh
No.
my goodness.
So that those things happen. We were
The company's account or from her own account?
It was an issue with the buyer. that was transferring the money for a real estate transaction.
Oh no.
Goodness.
You just hope to God you've got, is there insurance for this stuff?
Yeah. Absolutely. There's cyber insurance. Cyber insurance has been around for a while, and we actually help our clients go through that process.
Okay.
There's questionnaires that you fill out. And I would say until recently, it was paperwork, right? They were asking you a few questions, but it wasn't, I don't really know the impact of what your answer was, what your answers were. Now it's different. If you're trying to get cyber insurance and you are on an email system with no multi-factor authentication, either you're not going to get insurance, nobody's going to cover you, or it's going to be super expensive.
Right. So you might as well just do it. Why wouldn't you do it?
And most of the time it's free.
Right.
But
it's a pain. And
it is a pain.
People don't. It's a pain.
Oh, come on now. I shouldn't have said that. We were on the right track. But yeah, so now this stuff is starting to matter. And if you answer these insurance questions incorrectly and you get a hack, and when you file this claim, you have to go through, the insurance company will call in forensic IT people, and they'll get to the bottom of what happened.
Absolutely.
And if
they don't want to pay,
if they find out that you didn't have multi-factor authentication enabled, then sorry, they're not going to cover you. So stuff is starting to get a little serious, more so than it has been in the past.
Yeah.
I see you've got another story there. Let's hear it.
So one of the things in the IT world is compliance, right? So if you're a doctor's office, then everybody knows about HIPAA, or you have an idea about HIPAA. If you work with the government, then there's NIST and CMMC certifications that you have to start working towards. But most companies really aren't that affected by compliance. PCI, which is credit card stuff, then you are. But short of that, there's not a whole lot you have to do. But in the medical world, going back, if a medical office gets a breach, it's all about PHI, health information. And what happens is, you're getting hit by several different angles. The ransomware and the attempt to steal data, that's something you have to cover, and that's probably going to be expensive to recover from if you're not already working with the company. But then after the fact, you're having to pay for forensic investigations because HHS is doing their own investigation. So you could wind up paying more in penalties and fines from the government than what the hack cost you in the first place. If I was a medical office, I would really be concerned right now about cybersecurity. Are you doing enough? We've got some great medical offices, some practices, and we've been to a few that, it's kind of funny. It's sad, but it's funny. But we were invited to offer a proposal to a doctor in town. He was concerned about security, wasn't real happy with his current folks. So we come in, we explain our tool stack and whatever. We offer him our proposal, and he goes ballistic. He's like, "You're no different than the hackers. Why are you? You're charging this. Just kept on and on." And we're like, "Okay, we're probably not the right fit for you guys."
Right.
But the perspectives that people have are really strange. And as a consultant, if you're working with one company and you go to another company, their perspective on certain things could be completely different. And that's difficult as a consultant to try to manage that sometimes.
Yeah. No, we feel you on that. Not everyone is a great client for every consultant, and we're not a great fit for every client. But what other questions do you have?
I guess, could we talk about the WorkTok rollout, the templates?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Why don't the two of you talk about it?
Yeah, so I'm super excited to work with Robbie and getting these questions, because I think that, again, being in the software industry, dipped my toe, and just even talking with you of that education piece, I think that it's super important to help prevent, before something crazy happens. So we are all brainstorming. Shout out to Wayne Hippo as well, because he kind of made this all happen.
The connector.
He is connector. And so if anybody, all of our listeners, if you don't know WorkTok, it is an employee manager check-in, two-way feedback, real time, real results, all that good stuff. It's an affordable solution to really just stay connected with your employees. And that's really important to build trust and, keep your team satisfied, So going off of with Robbie here, we're working together to create templates for our clients to push out to their teams to make sure that they have the right education in place or make sure that their employees are aware. So I would love for you to just touch on some of the questions. I know you touched on one, but some of the questions to get their employees thinking.
So kind of going back when the beginning of the podcast, we talked about the social engineering aspect of this, and it's about psychology, and it's really important that employees know that your IT folks, your IT department can't stop everything. So the awareness is, I think, what makes sense is to figure out where that awareness is in an organization. Does your people, do they know, do they have some inclination about why it's important, first of all? And then once we establish that, do you feel like you can report to your boss if you think you may have a problem? Or, do you know what a phishing attack is? Do you know the things to look for? Those are things that once we know that, then you can tailor. I mean, you could go to YouTube and do videos, put together YouTube videos of some training elements of that. So I think kind of getting a gauge of where your folks are is super important to be able to customize the training that matters to them.
Yeah, definitely. And what trainings, I know you touched on a few, are for your trainings, are you coming into, the employer's place and kind of hosting, a presentation?
Sure.
What's your trainings format?
So we've done a few of those. We've done some we've been invited in by a company, and we've done employee trainings. We've done some organizational type training or, community organizations. And we go through a couple of things. We always want to, we want the folks to leave with 2 or 3 things that they could do like that afternoon or whatever to at least, make some improvement. Mm-hmm. So we try to deliver something. And then it's funny, you ask about, who are these people? We kind of go into that a little bit and to try to give a perspective of why this stuff is important. It's not just a bunch of, guys with pocket protectors in the back room. I mean, this stuff is real. It impacts everybody. So having some knowledge of how to protect yourself and your company is super important.
So what a cool opportunity for listeners to go out, start a free trial on WorkTok.com. We've got these templates that Robbie Garner from Atlanta Computer Services has actually written about cybersecurity. You can launch these talks, these two-way surveys between your employees and their supervisors in less than 5 minutes from the time that you sign up for WorkTok. Why wouldn't you do that? You should go to WorkTok.com right now, sign up. It takes 5 minutes. Go look for these cybersecurity talks, launch them this afternoon. And we're super happy to partner with you on this. I think it's a great idea and another opportunity for people to use WorkTok. So we love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to work with you guys on it. It's an exciting little project for me, and absolutely love the concept of getting HR involved in IT. That's great.
Cool. Well, we're not going to let you off that easy because at the end of every episode, we look at audience write-ins.
Dun, dun, dun.
Uh-oh.
So the fun part is it comes from all different perspectives. We get employees writing in, we get managers writing in, we get other HR people writing in, and sort of from all over. So this particular one, I picked this one because you own a business. And so we know, like, when you employ other human beings, they write their own stories sometimes on, like, what's going on with the business. And so this person in Greensboro, North Carolina said, I have a hunch our boss is selling our company. We all need new software and updates on other things in the business. I take inventory and we're getting low on items, but he doesn't want to buy anymore. So that's his first clue, I guess. He keeps pushing it off. I'm worried he's selling the company and we will all be jobless. That's a major concern I could see. He's done something similar before. We were all laid off on Christmas a few years ago before his new company.
Ouch.
How should I handle this?
Wow. Mm-hmm.
There's a couple things going down here. Inventory and being able to satisfy your customers is kind of like concerning, right? So if you're not able to satisfy your customers, I would think even if I'm trying to buy this dude's business, like I'm wanting to make sure like net promoter scores stay high. That's why I'm buying the business. Like, so that's kind of interesting. And then the second item, so we got like clients not maybe being serviced. That's an issue. People are talking, right, at the smoke shack or the lunch table about like, are we losing our jobs? And then they've got a point of data from years ago where they were let go at the holidays, which that's nobody's dream. Right. And so they're wondering how do they handle, I guess, potentially a conversation with the boss. So I'd love to get your take on what do you think of this situation?
Well, I guess first I'll answer from an owner's perspective. Man, you really got to establish those relationships with your folks, right? I mean, that would be a terrible environment to work in.
Absolutely.
You got to have those one-on-ones. You've got to gauge what's concerning to your folks, and that's a valid concern. I mean, nobody would say that wasn't a valid concern. And then from the employee's perspective, if you know that there's several people that have those concerns, you kind of got to figure out maybe how you can approach the boss in a non-threatening way, I guess,
right?
And try to get that information that you feel like you need.
Mm-hmm. I would love to, if you're not watching on YouTube, I'm going to draw a giant heart around Robbie's head with my fingers because a lot of what he said could be avoided if this boss or this owner just had a good relationship with his folks and like, when they go out for a monthly happy hour or whatever, they're like, hey, can we ask you a question? Like, are you thinking about selling the business? Right. And then the boss could say, great question. That's something I'm not prepared to talk about, but let me put my thoughts together and like get back with you guys. And I promise I'll share what I can. Yeah. Or, I'm selling the business. And y'all are going to get a chance to work for the new guy. Yeah. Or I'm not selling the business. Don't worry about it. I know we've had rough times. I hate what went down at Christmas 2 years ago, but like that's not going to happen again. Here's the why behind why I'm not restocking the inventory. It's because we're pivoting. We're going to sell this other product. And like, but it sounds like the dude is not taking the time to explain much of anything. And that leaves people with filling this vacuum with their own stories. Yeah, oh my God, everyone left. Yeah. Everyone quit. I thought they love it here. Yeah. No, you never actually asked them if they like working for you. And you're probably a horrible communicator. So right. Go look in the mirror, buddy. Yeah, interesting. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I think the key takeaway here is people love the why and just talk, like have that relationship. And I think it goes a long way when you have that comfortability to have real conversations and ask the hard questions, you know? So that's the key takeaway.
And like in general, if you tell your employees that, hey, this is confidential and it's internal to our company only, but like I'm going to share with you like how we did over the last couple of quarters and like what my plans are for the business and where you fit into like the growth of the company, or hey, we're having to scale back because it's too much. I got over my skis and like we took on too many clients and that's why inventory is low. It's lower than normal, but it's not low enough to service our current clients. Like, so just kind of explaining is so helpful.
Also, if you are a manager or a business owner and you are selling a company, maybe like not tell your lay off your employees on Christmas. Could you wait the day after? Even that would be a little better. Like on Christmas. Come on.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough one, right? Yeah. How does he sleep at night? I don't know.
This guy. He needs some serious HR help. So he probably needs IT help too, to be honest.
Probably. Maybe we don't want to help him. I don't know. Maybe he's not one of the ones that we want to work with.
Any key takeaways that you want the audience to know about, Robbie?
No, I would just, emphasize that cybersecurity is not just a tech issue. You know, there's a psychological aspect to this, and they're trying to manipulate you, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but that's how they do what they do, and so you gotta figure something out to address that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Anything from you?
I think he hit it right on the head.
Cool beans. Yep. Where do people find you?
Certainly call our office. We're in Wilmington, 910-799-6538, or go to our website, acs-ilm.com.
Cool. Are you on social media? How about that Robbie Garner TikTok account? We need to know about it.
I'm a TikTok watcher, not a doer. No, I'm just kidding. But We are. You find us on LinkedIn. We do a little bit on Facebook as well. So
Good deal. You want to tell them where to find all y'all?
Yeah, leathhrgroup.com. We're on all social media platforms. I'm trying to become TikTok famous, so if you're listening, follow Leath HR on TikTok. There's some humor. There's some good educational stuff as well. And then also try out WorkTok for free, 30 days, worktalk.com. If you have any interest on either of Leath HR or WorkTok, I'd be happy to chat. Gabbi Plumez on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Connect with me.
Yeah,
Cool.
beautiful. That's another episode of HR Nightmares. We helped some of you avoid HR nightmares out there. Thanks, Robbie Garner, for talking about cybersecurity, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
awesome. Thanks.